Hello, everyone, and by everyone, I mean our one student, but that's okay. My name is Lewis. I'm a librarian for the Palm Beach County Library System at Belle Glade, Florida, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to learn how to upcycle an old book. You're going to take an old book and how we're going to give it a second life, and we're going to turn it into a nice-looking journal that looks like this, preferably one that has a clasp. So if you decide to fill it with just your words, maybe you want to add some photos and some keepsakes, maybe some concert tickets, you know, whatever knickknacks that you pick along, you know, you find along your way, you can go ahead and add it. And if it gets too thick, that's what the handy clasp will be used for. Voila. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and switch cameras. And hopefully, if you got the handout, I hope it was as detailed for you as possible and as clear for you as possible. If not, please feel free to go ahead and give me an email. After the class, I'm going to go ahead and email everybody that actually registered for the class. So that way you have a copy of the video as well as the handout and the feedback form. So please let us know what you thought about the class. Switching now. Stand by. There you are. Okay. And how's the view? Is it, you can see everything okay? You can see my hands? Magic, yay. All right, good, good, good. So in the handouts that I gave everybody, and is this upside down? Oh, it is backwards, but that's okay. You know what? I can fix that, can I? I can do like a video settings and mirror my video. Aha. Voila, better. Okay, so that way you can actually read it. This is a list of recommended supplies. You don't have to use these exact tools. These are just the ones that I used in order to create this particular journal. Some of you are probably very crafty and you might even have some of your existing tools at home that might work just as well, if not better. So since I'm just letting you know, this was actually the first time I've ever created a handmade journal. So I was pretty pleased with the outcome. And I'm going to show you step by step how it was done. So let's get this journal out of the way now that we've seen what the before and after is going to look like. And if you notice on the first page, I emphasize the importance of gutting out the actual book itself, but you have to be very careful. What I recommend is using a very solid, steady blade, just basic box knife cutter. I have this other one that came with a tool set that I have, which looks like this, but I would recommend the stronger one, definitely, because it just cuts better. And so when let me see if I can get this close to the camera there. There we go. Okay, that's challenging. So as I'm kind of just pulling a little bit on the cover there, you'll notice that there's like a little bit of a gap between the cover and the actual lining on the inside. Okay, so when we cut, we want to make sure that we don't cut, oops, there we go. Make sure we don't cut the actual cover. We just want the paper cut. Okay, and of course, always practice safety. Always cut away from yourself. And you do it as slow as absolutely necessary. So I'm just, you can see here, I'm already separating the paper from the spine. It's a lot smoother than I thought it would be. There we go. Let's see how we're doing. I'll start from this end too. And sometimes you'll notice that the actual papers themselves, they might be glued to the back. So you have to kind of like cut through the glue too. But again, be very gentle and try to be as safe as possible. Hopefully I won't need a Band-Aid. So for the sake of saving time, I already did the other side of this book because it can be a time-consuming process. Ooh. Nice. Okay, so it came out much easier than I thought. Okay, so here we go. We've already separated the back here. Let me just check up over here. Oh, see, I have to cut that glue again because it's really sticky. There we go. Voila. Excellent. There you go. These are the guts. I highly recommend that you just go ahead and recycle them. Or if you decide to use like an old dictionary, for example, the old dictionaries, I've noticed a lot of people on Etsy will take one that's like really old, kind of vintage looking, and they'll print artwork on top of it, and they'll sell it on Etsy for like 10 or even 20 bucks because they're considered original art, but it's just fun to frame. I've even seen a librarian over at our main branch, have copies of this type of artwork. So I'm just gonna toss that off to the side. All right, so what I recommend is a hardcover book. You don't want a paper bound one because obviously it will be very flimsy and it'll be kind of hard to put a latch on it because it probably just tear right through the paper. And if you're looking for a good hardcover book to find, and you don't have any in your personal library, or maybe you can't part with those little treasures at home, I would recommend going either to you can go to the library to see if they have any old ones for sale, or you can go to your local thrift store. You can go to Goodwill, you can go to Salvation Army, or just a general thrift store and see what kind of old books that they might have. And if you're wondering about the size that you might need, of course you want to find pages that match here. So let me see if you know what? I forgot some pages. Stand by for just a second. Thank you for your patience. So yes, you can get some regular 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. You'll have groups of 10. You can start with three groups of 10 to see if that works best for you. Unless, of course, your spine is wider and you can have a lot extra room left. Maybe you want to do 4 groups of 10. So I'm going to start off simple. Put that off to the side. Here we go. And so for the next step, now that we have our wonderful little sturdy cover here, you notice this already has like a little spine cover, which is wonderful. It's going to help us later on in the process, and I'll go ahead and show you why. First, we're going to go ahead and lay that flat. And we're going to grab some duct tape. You can use regular duct tape. You could also use Gorilla Tape. It's one of my personal favorites because it's very strong, very sturdy. It's not going to go anywhere. And they also have something called DuPont Tyvek sheathing tape, which is a really good product. But I already have this at home, so I decided to stick with this. All right, so basically what we're doing here, we're just reinforcing the spine. Go. Putting that down there. And where's my little trusty razor blade? Excellent. Across, voila. And just for extra measure, I might even put 2 more strips there. And then I'll do it like one off to the left. There you go. Place that down carefully, trying to not have anything bubble up. Now, what I was saying earlier about optional materials, one thing I definitely recommend as a must would be a cutting board, a self-healing cutting board. It doesn't have to be from Fiskars, it could be from anywhere. You can get them in Michael's, you can get them in Artorama, or you can get them on Amazon. They're not terribly expensive. Some companies charge a lot of money, but you'll see the difference in terms of quality. For this one, I think I purchased it for like maybe 20 bucks. But working in the library, we do a lot of crafting, and it's a godsend. And it also keeps people from yelling at me for not cutting into a table. Take the other half here. There we go. Voila. I have a feeling my guest has been scolded maybe once or twice. Have you ever cut into a table before? I'm afraid so. All right, great. So now we have this nice and reinforced with some good duct tape. And the next thing we want to do, we want to cover it up with a little bit of cloth. Now, if you notice, let me see if I can show this. So this is completely covered in one type of cloth, but I also covered the center with the same cloth, and you don't have to do that. If you want to kind of mix up your materials and try different colors, you're welcome to do so. So what to do is we're going to go ahead, and this is a cloth that I got from Joanne Fabrics, and just found a nice little cool little green pattern, something simple that might be universally appreciated depending on who you're giving the gift to. All right, and figure out how much I need. So what I'm doing is I'm showing you right here the duct tape underneath it, so you can kind of get an idea as far as how much space you need. So generally I say, you know, at least a ½ inch outside the border or more, whatever you want, because we're going to end up covering it all up anyways. So where is my marker? Okay, so a little trusty black marker here. And I got about a ½ inch on the left side, ½ inch on the right. Doesn't have to be absolutely precise. I just like to eyeball it sometimes. Go. And let's see, how far up do I have to go? I have to go right around here. Okay. Pull it a little bit further, but that's okay. No worries. Excellent. You kind of feel out over here where this edge is. Go. All right, make sure I cover that up so it doesn't dry out. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this cover out of the way, and I'll introduce you to a wonderful tool that I just learned about because of this craft. And this is a rotating, blade. It's kind of like a pizza cutter. You just don't have the pizza. And oh my gosh, it saves so much time, and it helps you cut, perfectly straight, especially when you have this type of ruler. There's a little metal ruler, but I recommend one that has a cork bottom. It keeps you from sliding all over the place, especially when you're cutting. So I'm going to go ahead and place that down where I marked it. So I have my little black marker here. And where's the other one? Oh, there it is. Great, great. Oh, hello, Melinda. I didn't see you come in. Welcome. Can you hear me okay? All right, so you go ahead and take your cutter. Be careful, it is very sharp, so make sure your fingers are not in the way. That's another great thing about having a metal ruler versus a wooden ruler, because you don't want to cut into the wood ruler. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on the edge there and just put it right across. Look at that. I mean, like, oh gosh, it makes me so happy to see it cut so quickly and just perfectly straight. Okay, I have way too much stuff over here. I'm going to kind of push this off to the side. There we go. Okay, where did I put it? Oh, there it is. There we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and put my little trusty metal ruler with the cork backing straight down again. And take the little rotary cutter. Voila, love this thing. And I didn't cut all the way through. Derp. Yep. All right, good. So now I have the strip for the middle. Nope, not this one. I need the other one. There it is. Okay, so here's the cover of the book that we just gutted. We took all the paper out. And Melinda, I'm not sure at what time you came in, but basically what I did, I took in an old book and I basically just cut out the guts. I made sure that I didn't cut the actual spine itself because we need that for the support. Off to the side, and I took some black duct tape and I just taped it in the center to help reinforce the binding. Okay, so this is what the center is going to look like. And don't worry that it's not perfect on the edges because we're going to end up covering all that anyways. I just wanted to make sure that it went outside the edges of the duct tape. And I'm going to teach you another wonderful product called Fabrifix, and this is what we're going to be using to glue the fabric onto the actual cardstock itself, onto the cover. I'm going to put a nice little generous amount all over it. Let me see if Linda, hopefully she can hear me okay. Okay, glue that. I should have plenty of glue for this project because I only used half a bottle the last time I created this, and I made lots of mistakes the first time, which is always a good thing. You want to never be afraid to make mistakes when it comes to crafting, because you never know, you might come up with a solution that you didn't intend. All right, good, good, good. Okay, voila, voila. Pat that down really good. There you go. Looks much cleaner than looking at duct tape. As much as we love using duct tape, we just don't want to see it. All right, that's looking good. Next step. Out of the way. And move that out of the way. And now we're going to go ahead and place our cloth down. What we're going to be using for our cover. There we go. And we're going to place the book right on top of it. Saying this is the challenging part about having the only challenging part about having the center cloth here match the outside. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see where the borders are because they all camouflage with each other. Okay. And what we want to do here is that we basically want to cut about 1 inch all the way around the book. So we're going to, so that we can fold it over and glue it down. And again, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because it's just being folded over. And then afterwards, we're going to put little panels on top of those folds. So that way you don't have to look at how bad your cutting skills are. Or how bad my cutting skills are. I don't know about you. You might be great at cutting. So here we go. Slide this over. So right about there, I'm going to use my wonderful little rotary cutter. I try to use it as often as possible in order to save time, especially for a 1.5 hour class. Love it, love it, love it. And slide this over a little bit so make sure I'm still cutting the board and not the rug, because my branch manager would not be happy if I was cutting lines into the rug. Let's see if I can see the chat. Okay, nobody's chatting anything. How was everybody's weekend, by the way? I'm asking the weekend because my weekend is like Sundays and Mondays. So I don't get to see what everybody's day was on Saturday and Sunday. Go, and then I'll do the top over here, approximately 1 inch. Go. Again, you could use regular scissors, you could use the rotary cutter, totally up to you. I am a big fan of this rotary cutter, as if you haven't heard me say it like 3 times already. Go away. Pretty good, pretty good. All right, good, good. I'm glad to hear it. Good as in you had a good weekend? Yeah, good, good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, so we got that, and I need about 1 inch on this side. Let's slide that over. Got my trusty little metal ruler here. And hopefully I did that well. All right. I made multiple cuts in here, but that's okay. No worries. Now this is where I get my actual scissors and fix what I didn't do properly with the cutter. And by the way, if you have any questions, I'm gonna pay attention to what I'm cutting so I don't cut my fingers off. So please unmute yourself and ask any questions you might have or any comments. If you just want to chat about anything, any of the craft projects you guys do, or maybe even suggestions for future craft projects. I was just speaking with a member yesterday, and she asked me if we can create a painting on glass class, which I thought sounded like fun. So I think I'm glad to hear that, Melinda. So she wanted a painting on glass class, and that sounded interesting. So basically, the idea is to, get a glass, and you go ahead and paint on it, and then you're going to put it in a cold oven, she says. And then she said you have to, when you turn it on to 350 degrees, leave it there for 45 minutes, and the paint is supposed to solidify on there and it's supposed to be safe to drink with, and I think safe to put in the dishwasher too. So that sounded like a class worth exploring. All right, so great. So now we have approximately a 1-inch border around. It's not absolutely perfect because I did eye it, no worries. If you are a perfectionist, I totally get it. You can make it as perfect as you like. And so what we want to do is we want to go ahead and put a nice little, maybe a nickel-sized glob of glue on all 4 corners. Go, because we're going to be folding the corners first before we fold the sides. Go. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. I want you guys to hear that in the microphone. There we go. So push that down nice and gentle like. There we go. Fold that corner. Voila. Do either of you journal by chance? Sometimes? Yeah, I do too. I've been, as of, I want to say 2012, 2013, I started journaling for the first time. And I don't know, I really enjoy it. I don't do it as often as I could, but I generally just journal whenever I have something significant, usually, it's positive to say. Sometimes even the negative stuff that happens, because sometimes I think it's healthy to look back to see, where you were, things that you thought were a big deal, and hopefully look back at them and say, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but hey, I survived. I've fallen out of the habit though. I should try to get back into the habit. Yeah, I agree. I think it's something very healthy. And, who knows? I don't know if you have a family of your own, if you have any kids, or if you intend to have any kids, it's just nice to have that, keepsake for them to see what kind of person you were when you're younger, when you're having challenges, all that jazz. I've been begging my dad to start journaling, or at the very least, maybe write like a memoir or something, because he's had a lot of very interesting life experiences. He was in the Army for 20 years. And thanks to him, I got to experience a lot of different cultures growing up. Lived in Italy for about 3.5 years, lived in Germany for a few years, but I was too young to remember that one. Lived in Hawaii, lived in New Mexico. And I'm very grateful for all those experiences. All right, so this is coming out nicely. So in the instructions, I was saying one of the things that you can do is you can go ahead and fold this down on top of the glue and just kind of press down on it, but I don't think that'll be necessary in this example. Let me cut out this little extra thread thing going on here. Terrible cutting skills. Hopefully you'll find some hope in this, that I don't have the best crafting skills and everything, but it can still come out really nice. Upside down. I should have got me a second bottle just to be on the safe side. It's one thing about working in film production. You always want to get double of everything because they have that Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. But it doesn't seem to happen as often when it comes to crafting, thank goodness. There we go. So we can go ahead and fold that down on top of that. Yeah, in my journals, if I have like a photo of whatever event, maybe, a holiday with family members or whatever, that kind of thing, I'll go to CVS and I'll print out the digital images that are on my phone, and I'll include that in my journal. That's always nice. And a little over a year ago, we had this one outdoor cat that we absolutely loved, and had lots of photos of him, but then he passed away. And I have those photos of him in my journal to look back on and appreciate. Seems almost cruel that our fur babies have such short lives, in my opinion. There we go. All right, that's looking good, looking good. Get rid of all this little excess string thing here. All right, so if you notice over here on the inside, the cloth is a little bit threaded, but no problem, because later on we're going to be putting gluing some panels over here, so it makes it nice and clean looking. So have you had that experience? Have you, anybody have any fur babies? Ones that have passed on? It's always a sad time. Where's my glue? There it is. I'm grateful this is coming together much faster than I thought it would be. What's the actual time? Stand by. 6, okay, great. So wow, we've already been doing this for 30 minutes. That's crazy. So that's the one thing about doing creative things I've noticed. I can get totally lost in it, and like hours can go by. Linda, you had guinea pigs? Oh, wow. So you had more than one then? I asked because we once, my mother, we used to have 2 guinea pigs, and then I guess they didn't like each other very much, because we went to church and we came back and one of them had his head eaten off. I know it sounds horrid, but that's what happened. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what in the world? And somebody told me, it's like, oh yeah, they do that sometimes. I'm like, why? They're the same species, you know? For all I know, they could have been siblings. I mean, sibling rivalry, that's a little extreme. There's one thing I love about guinea pigs is the sounds that they make. The low little squeak that they do. Still have 2. Oh, nice. How long do guinea pigs normally live? I know cats, you know, they can last for a long time. Like we have this one cat that's like 21 years old. You know, you take good care of them, and I don't know, this particular one, she's no outdoor cat, but she's pretty much adopted us back in 2000. All right, so great. So now, as you can see here, nice and pretty. There we go. So we got the back, we got the front. It's coming together nicely. And what is the next step? Hold on, let me jump over there. Yep, I did all of that. So if you have the handout right now and you're following along, find out what page I'm on. See, I should have inserted page numbers on 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on the 4th page, one that talks about the little panels that you have to insert. So what we want to do is we get like some cardstock paper, any color you like. I found one that was as complementary as possible to the type of cloth that I was using. So you might need to kind of feel out as far as where the edges are of the front and the back cover. And then from there, you want to measure approximately 1/2 inch. Actually, you know what, let me do it from this side. Approximately 1/2 inch from that center one. There you go. On each side, and then 1/2 inch on this side. So let me find a pencil. I thought I had them in front of me. There they are. So I'm going to measure that. Draw that out. This one, I think I shall use the scissors. Now, another wonderful little tool is one of those quick action scissors. These are the ones that have like a little spring in the middle. And these are really great if you're cutting a lot of cloth, and it helps reduce the strain on your wrist. So that's helpful. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that. You know what? I'm gonna use the regular scissors. Straight and careful as possible. Fingers are stuck. There we go. Voila. So we got one for here. And it varies 4 to 8 years usually. Really, such a short life. Yeah, they're such amazing creatures. So funny, the unique personalities that they have. Okay, great. So I got about 1/2 inch over here on this side. And I need my little ruler. Measure out approximately. half inch over here too. Okay, great. So these are going to be our panels. Actually, I'm going to flip this one over because I don't want to see the pencil writing on it. There we go. So as I was mentioning before, if you have like this little frayed cloth over here, no worries, because we're going to go ahead and use this wonderful Fabrifix glue, and we're going to glue the back of that and just put it right on top of there. So flip this over. You know what? Which one's better? I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, yeah, I definitely should have got some extra glue because this is taking a little while to come out. Nice little helping all the way around. Flip that over, try not to get it all over your fingers like I just did. Nice and straight, the best you can. Just kind of pat that down nicely. And if you want, and what I recommend is if you could find like some magazines or something like that, which I didn't have with me, but that's okay. I'm going to take the guts of my of the book right there. I'm just going to kind of let that, you know, weigh down on there pretty good. And then I'm going to take the other side of this and glue that down. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight, especially for my first craft project. Usually I'm doing like technology classes and things like that, so it's nice to have a little bit more variety. There we go, nice. Shameless plug for my other class. Next week, Saturday, I am doing a shadow puppet theater story time for ages 2 to 6. And I had no idea how much time that would require me to actually do, but you know what? It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So that's nice and pat down. I'm going to do this for the same thing. Just going to kind of weigh it down evenly. Just putting my body weight on top of this. It's nice and flat. All right. So it's coming together nicely. Okay. Let's see, I might choose. Okay, yeah. So when this is happening, you might want to go ahead, you know, if you're at home, you go ahead and put a few books or something like that on top of it. Let that dry for about a good 30 minutes or something like that, and have a nice little break. But we're going to go ahead and move on. So I'm going to put this off to the side for now. And the next thing we're going to do is this is the actual journal, as I mentioned before, and we're going to go ahead and create the spine cover. So if you, no, I don't have, well, the book's completely covered. The original book that we had, it actually already had a spine cover right there. So it was a nice, gave us a nice little guideline. But now that it's covered, we don't know where that is. We can make it to be whatever we want it to be. So that's what we're going to work on next. Now, the type of material that you could choose, totally up to you. You can use like a very hard canvas material, like a medium weight canvas. You could use faux suede. You can use, I found this is cork material. Apparently they use it for upholstery. I also found this at Joann's Fabrics. Absolutely love it. Looking for the shadow puppets. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's, I think it's the first time our library has ever done a shadow puppet story time. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm pre-recording it because if I was to do that live, it would have been a disaster because there's a lot of little moving parts when it comes to my little shadow puppet theater. But here, so I have a, this is again for upholstery, but I really like the texture and the nice thickness of the material. It just seems really sturdy and just gives it a very unique look, as well as a nice contrast in terms of color. So what we want to do is, in order to figure out how much we actually need, we're gonna maybe determine, I say about 1 inch from the edge of the spine here. And you're just gonna go ahead and wrap it around. Stand by. Right about there and wrap it around. Voila. So I think I'll stop right around, oops, sorry, right around there. I'm just gonna take like a little black marker. There we go. Okay. Completely unraveled this, did not mean to do that. This class, I don't know what I'm doing with all this extra cork material. I'll have to find another use for it. Okay, and take a little trusty metal. Okay, oh, here's another wonderful thing about this type of cutting board is that it has all these lines and all these grids, and they're exactly 1 inch apart. These little dots in between, so you get like your 1/2 inch, you got your 1/4 inch, so on and so forth. So it's a really great guide. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line it up with the number 7, this little dot that I made here. And whoops, I gotta make sure it's straight on both sides here. There. Great. Line that up really good. We get that wonderful rotary cutter here. Just do 1 slice, don't do multiple if you can avoid it. Aha, up, see, and I couldn't avoid it. Let's see if I can fix that. I'm gonna use the scissors for this one. I don't want to have a million slices through this cork. All right, great. So there we go. We got our spine. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use that Fabrifix. Actually, ooh, you know what? I have some excess over here. So if you notice, it lines up at the bottom right over here, but I have a little bit of excess over here. So I need to cut that off. Right around. Yeah. Oops. As precise as possible. Oh, where's my cutter? There it is. And let's roll. There we go. Nice. Now you should have a spine cover that perfectly covers the spine of your book. Voila, like that. Now we're going to go ahead and put a nice heaping amount of fixing glue on the spine of the book itself. And of course, on the one inch into the cover and the back cover, front cover and the back cover rather. Good. And just do a little bit here. I'm gonna get that for now. Where is my top to this glue? I don't know where it went, so I have to put that off to the side. Okay, so here we go. Measure that nicely. I'll wrap that around. Yeah, so I'm just kind of pressing down on it so the glue will dry. Oops. Of course, you want to make sure you line it up properly. There we go. You may need to put it down and then add some more glue. So let me see if there's anything that's loose. Yeah, a little bit over here. Come on, be nice. How we doing, guys? Any questions, comments, concerns, sarcasm? All good? Okay. Check the side. All right, it's a little bit needs some gluing over here. We should have bought some more glue. That's okay. We're gonna make use of what we got. There we go. Lovely. All right, it's coming along. There we go. One step closer to making our final product. Okay, so we did that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start working on the button clasp. So let me find a button here. You don't have to use it. You don't have to use a button, you know, like one of these types. I mean, they got metal ones. They have all kinds of like, you know, steampunk, you know, kind of themed or military themed, whatever you want. I just chose a button that was close to the color of the cloth, just to be consistent with the themes. And so I think I just had a light that went out. No, okay, we're good. So I'm going to kind of line this up the best I can on my little ruler here on the cutting board. And I want to find the center. What we do from here, we're going to go ahead and mark the holes for where we want to puncture the cover of the book. You know what? Let me use a black marker so it's clear. 1, 2. All right. Now there are other tools like an adjustable hole puncher, and they're able to do like 1/8 inch holes in something as thick as this. But I don't want to spend an extra 40 or 50 bucks in order to get one of those, so I go on the cheap side. I get a little 1.5 inch nail and an old-fashioned hammer. We're gonna hammer the holes in there, because a hammer is something that most people already have, and hopefully they have a few nails too. And so just for safety purposes, and what I should have mentioned earlier is that I recommend doing this project on the floor because, hold on, let me adjust my camera here. Don't want you putting any holes in anybody's table or cutting into it with a blade by accident. Plus the floor won't give as much leeway or give than like a wooden table. Let's see if that went through. Yes. All right. I'm just going to kind of reinforce it just a little bit more. Once it's in there, I like to also, you know, wiggle it a little bit so that way the hole's a decent size, because later on we're going to be putting this elastic thread through it. Go. Let me do the front side too, just for extra measure. The other thing about having a self-healing cutting board, hammer a nail into it and it's no big deal. Nobody cares. All right, great. So let's take a look. Yeah, that looks good. I don't know if I can bring that into the camera. You can kind of see the light through the holes there. Voila. And now we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on the opposite side, except I'm going to turn the buttons in the opposite, turn the button in the opposite direction. Okay, so. So a little black marker there. Voila. How? Grab my nail. Wiggle that a little bit to make the hole a little bit bigger. So what else that looks like. All right, it did go through. Awesome. Two nice clean holes that we can go ahead and thread. Wait, one more over here. Voila. Excellent. Okay. Now we got those holes down. Okay, so for the front, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and get some thread on this one. Another variation of the grain that I'm using for the cover of the book. And what I did, in order to save time, I already got some needles that were already threaded. Because I don't know about you, but I hate wasting a bunch of time trying to get the needle or the string into the needle. Just trying to save a little bit of time for those of you that are watching. I just want one needle for now. Right. This right here, first hole there. Excellent. All right. Go ahead. You know what I should have did? I should have done it from the opposite direction. Stand by. So I don't want the excess thread to be on the front. I want it to be in the back. Oh, I thought I heard some thunder outside. It's been raining a lot. I don't know about where you, both of you are right now, but it has been raining a lot over here in Belglade. I'm sure the plants are very grateful. And it makes for really great sleeping weather. Do a little slip knot here. Trick I learned from the Boy Scouts when I was a little kid. Can you believe it? I was actually a Boy Scout. Okay. And you can, make it kind of firm, but just leave a little bit of space between the button and the cover because your elastic band or your clasp needs to be able to reach over with no problem. And where'd you go? There you are. Just a little bit of space, not too much. So in addition to 2 guinea pigs, oh wait, no, she left. That's okay, no worries. I was gonna ask her about her guinea pigs. Let's see what other animals she had. Well, thank you for hanging out with me, Mr. Crafty Gentleman. Greatly appreciated. Just sewing this button on. Normally I would, whenever I'm sewing anything, especially buttons, I'll double up on the thread. But this morning it was hard for me to actually get to a double thread into the eye of the needle. All right, so I think that's enough. I'm gonna do one more. And we'll call it a day for this button. Go. Let's tie that off. Go. Great. Cut. Good. So I got that. Now we got a button. Yay! Now we're going to go ahead and get an elastic band. Again, I also got this at Joann's Fabric. This is what's going to make our clasp. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and feed that through. And sometimes you may need to use oh, no, it's going through okay, no problem. Excellent. I was going to say, if you have a hard time, because this is a lot thicker than your normal thread, if you have a hard time feeding it through, you might want to go ahead and get like a tiny little nail or a needle or something, kind of force it through. But this is actually cooperating quite nicely. And of course, I spoke too soon because now it won't go back the other end. So let's see if I can get that to work. No, let me use the bigger nail. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Like I said, Murphy's Law. Maybe I just jinxed myself. Okay, stand by. I'm just gonna make that hole. Okay, so what I did, I just fed the nail completely through. So that way the hole is nice and big. Hopefully that will solve the problem. I think part of the issue is that this is all fluffy at the end of it and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and just cut off a little bit of the end. Feed it through again. Ah, there we go. That fixed it. Hello, Abigail. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so what we're trying to do is when we create that little clasp on the back side of the book, we want to make sure that when it wraps around, it's tight, but not too tight, because you want to be able to give it room to stretch, especially if people are going to be putting a lot of keepsakes in the middle. So they're going to write in their journal, they're going to add photos, they're going to add, movie tickets, whatever memories they want to put in there. So I'm going to leave that there for now. And oh, here's a good guideline. Where are the guts of the book? There they are. So let's say we took the guts of the book here. And we're going to wrap it around and we're going to see how much thread we actually need. There we go. It's not bad. Maybe I need a little bit more. There we go. Excellent. Hold that right there. The guts of the book still served a purpose. And actually, you know what I should have done? Should have given myself some more leeway here. Hold on. I'm going to give myself a little more string so I can tie it better. Hold on. So I think I had roughly about that much right here. Unfortunately, I don't remember any of the other knots that I learned from being a Boy Scout. All I remember is the slip knot. Oh, and the square knot. I remember that one. That was a good knot to know. Stand by. The clasp is within our grasp. You're so funny. Hello. Yes. You guys are so funny. Thank you guys for joining us. Joining me. I appreciate it. So tie that nice and tight. Maybe do 3 knots just to be on the safe side. There we go. Voila. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off the edges here. Pow. All right. It's coming along. There we go. We have our little clasp. Oops. You can do this, Lewis. Come in. This is why you don't want the button to be too tight. Just want to be able to clasp around. Yes, nice. Look at that. Identical. Okay, so let's go ahead and take that off. Now that we've got that done, we have the spine cover, we have the cloth cover, we have the button clasp. We're going to put this off to the side. And now we're going to go ahead and work on the insides of the book, the actual paper. So first thing we need is that, where's my cardstock? Get some like an extra, it's a little bit extra thick cardstock, and this is what's going to help us help reinforce the spine. That's always very important. And I'm going to cut this just wide enough so that it fits. Oops, not this one. So that it fits inside the middle of this little spine here. And you can kind of just use your fingers to feel where the edges of the spine are. So that's where it'll sit comfortably inside. There you go. So I'm just kind of rest that right in there. And then I'm going to kind of feel out with the other edges. So it's right around here. Put a little mark there. Do that over here. Not where that is. Got it. So again, I'm going to go ahead and use my wonderful little cutting board here that has all these lines here. I'm going to line this up. There we go. So it's 1, 2 dots in. So I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2 dots over here. Make a little mark. Go. Nice. I think we need 2 of them, do we? Yes, we do. We need 2 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Let me see. Where is my razor blade? Excellent. Wonderful little box cutter. And just be careful as you're cutting along and do it as slowly as you need to. So that way you don't make any mistakes. Nice firm pressure. There we go, voila. And then I'm going to make a second one, same size. Go and mark it down with a pencil. And where's my ruler? Okay, so here's a wonderful little safety rule. Whenever you're doing crafting and you're not using your box cutter, it's always important to go ahead and close your blade, put it off to the side. Because you don't want to accidentally cut yourself, and you never know who might be walking around you, especially your pets. There's kids outside playing outside the door of the library. There we go. Great, so now I have 2 of them. All right, so I'm on a ruler, cut your strips in a box, boom. Okay, so this right here, we're gonna go ahead and take these little cardboard strips and we're gonna go ahead and glue them together. And that's gonna give us a wonderful little reinforced spine, because later on, we're gonna be punching holes in this little spine here, so that way we can go ahead and thread the paper to the spine itself. Ooh, just enough glue. Put a nice, generous helping of glue on there. Just want to make sure it doesn't fall apart, and which it won't anyways, just because you're going to be sewing everything together nice and tight with embroidery thread. Embroidery thread is really strong. There we go. Glue that together, and I'll use the guts of the book to kind of weigh it down. It's my body weight to press. How you doing, Abigail? Didn't get the chance to chat with you. Abigail, do you have any pets? I don't know if you can hear me or not. Maybe you're just listening or just watching the video. There we go. All right, great. So now we have a nice little sturdy spine there. Go to the next page. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and measure and mark our signature holes on the strip. And this is where you're going to begin threading the embroidery floss to your paper, your paper to the spine. And then we're going to mark 3 sets of 3 dots. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you would think that the second set of dots would be perfectly in the middle. We're going to put it a little bit towards the top, so that way we know what is the top of the book and what is the bottom of the book. It just kind of helps us distinguish that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. There we go. And where's my ruler? There it is. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'll use this one, centimeter side. So we need 3 dots. I'm thinking right around there. We go 1, 2, 3. And I can go further down. So not exactly in the middle, but maybe a little bit up over here. Same thing. Let's line that up nicely. 1, 2, 3, and then of course the bottom. Actually, you know what? That's way. Let's bring that a little bit further down, just a little bit. So I want to make sure it's evenly reinforced. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Come down here. 1, 2, and 3. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and take, where is my black marker? There it is. Take my black marker to mark those down. So that way they're a little more pronounced. And I'm not trying to second guess myself. Where is my trusty little nail? I lost it. Oh, there it is. Aha. I'm going to go ahead and take the hammer and nail. We're going to go. Same thing over here. Not blowing your ears out. You know what? If you want, I'm going to go ahead and mute this part so that way you're not hurting your ears listening to the hammering. There we go. All right, so we got our wonderful little holes here. Next, I believe this is where we actually take the sheets of paper. Okay, so reason why I chose the size book that I did is because when I take my 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper and I fold it in half, it's going to fit nicely inside this book without it overlapping. Okay, so if you just happen to choose a book that's smaller, you'll just have to take your trusty little ruler and take a box cutter and just trim it down even further. So maybe you might want to make a smaller novelty type journal. But for this, I wanted to fit perfectly without having to cut anything. And as a generalization, I'd say take just 10 sheets at a time. So we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. I'm just gonna pull it out to the side. Let's move this out of the way. Great. And we're gonna go ahead and fold this in half. I want to do one more thing. Once you fold it in half and everything, I would recommend also just kind of feeding it in there and just making sure that the pages fit inside, that they don't overlap on this end or the top or the bottom. So that way you know you have plenty of space to play with. So now that we've done that, that's good. And then, I didn't bring any paper clips, but you know what, that's okay. Because I know we're running short on time. Right now it's 5:42. So I have about 15 minutes to finish this up. And look at that, I just realized I've already made a mistake. Okay, so you'll notice that the spine is significantly larger. What I should have done first is what I should have, there we go. I should have lined up the paper center on this thing and then determined my holes that way. So I'm going to do that briefly just for the center lines. Okay, so I'll line that up like right here. And I'll put one here. Actually, no. Put one here, and yeah, this one down here is okay. Oops. Stand by. Do one here, and I think I'll mark it down here. Okay, so just for the sake of saving time, I'm just going to do that one set of holes. Oops, where's my marker? 1, 2, 3. The fact that I've already put holes in it is no big deal because you're not going to see them once everything is put in place. That in there just to make sure the hole's nice and big. There we go. Maybe even kind of feed it through. There we go. Excellent. Never be afraid to make mistakes. Crafting, because I think those are the best lessons. In my defense, I made this first journal about a month ago. Little details were a little fuzzy as far as the what I did the first time in order to make sure everything was lined up perfectly. All right, great. So we have our 3 dots, the proper 3 dots. There's beauty and perfection, don't fret. Thank you, you're so supportive. You're the best student ever. Thank you. Best guest ever. Okay, so now what we want to do is, now that we have our 3 holes, and where are my sheets of paper? There we go, we have our sheets of paper. And what I also did is when I was lining up the holes here, actually this is supposed to be like that. I'm just line that right here. I also want to mark on the paper where the holes are, just putting like a little notch there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Voila, because that's where we're going to be putting holes in the paper, so that way we can thread it through the spine. You do what you can. Yes, you do. You're awesome. Thank you. Okay, so where is my thread? As I mentioned before, you want to get something called embroidery thread. They might even call it tapestry thread. You want to make sure it's nice and strong. Okay, and for this one, we want to make sure that we stretch out 3 times the length of the book. So 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that. There we go. And then, oh, I already did that with another needle somewhere, I think. Or no, I didn't. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to get a large eye needle. Basically, the hole at the top is larger than your standard needle. It is a wonderful invention because it makes my life easier. I'm gonna go ahead and feed that through. Make a nice little knot here. It took longer than I expected. Thought for sure I actually cut one already, but no worries. Now feeding this through. Thought I actually put the order. Okay, so in my instructions, I say to thread the string through the first set of holes, but you know what? I didn't punch the holes yet. That might be helpful. Go, and where's my nail? There it is. Wonderful. Take that. Goes through all the pages. Okay, so through the first set of holes, beginning with the center hole on the inside through the center hole of the card strip. Okay, so basically we're going to go ahead and start with the center hole. There you go. We're going to feed that through and go to the center hole of the cardstock. Let's see. Okay. The top hole to the top hole and then back to the bottom. Okay, great. So once you start from the middle, you want to go over back through the top. And then top of the paper, of course. And then, oops, string came off my needle. That does not speak well of my tying skills. Let's try that again. I have so much dried glue on my fingers, it looks like I'm shedding. You guys ever do that when you were a kid? Just to put a bunch of glue on my my palm and everything and just peel it off like I was I don't know, like a lizard or something. I think I'm confessing too much. All right, so then after we go through the center, go through the top, and then we're going to feed back through on the bottom. Let's do the bottom hole in the cardstock. There we go. And then we feed it back through again through the center. And the reason why we do that is that now, as you can see, it's lined up nicely, and then you can go ahead and tie it. Where's my scissors? Get that out the way. So nice and clean. We'll go ahead and tie that really good. 3 knots ought to do it. 1. Make sure everything is, the string is nice and tight. 2. 3. Voila. Good. I think I just realized why this is so tall. So when I placed it in here, I didn't think about the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and see if I can align it towards the center. Here we go. Where's my ruler? There it is. Align that up. And maybe just a little bit lower than the actual top of the book. There. And draw a line through there. Again, great thing about making mistakes. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part. What's great is that it's just low enough that I can cut off those 3 dots that I did earlier. Oops. Make sure it stays still. Ah, nice and clean. No worries. There we go. Beautiful. Then, as you can see here, hold that, make sure it's nice and creased. There we go. We got our spine, we got the pages, and you would do this 2 more times. You would put 3 more dots on the left-hand side, 2 more dots on the right, or 3 more dots on the right. And then afterwards, since we're running low on time, you would go ahead and put a nice heaping amount of glue on the back side. And then you would push it in here, nice and firm. And then what you do is you grab a clip, preferably one of those Hercules clips, the metal ones, but this is what we have. A nice big clip. This works just as well. Put it down on there, let that glue, let that stay for about an hour, and boom, you're done. And that's how we make a handmade journal that's unique and makes a great gift. And especially with the holidays, coming up just around the corner, it does, catch up on us very quickly. And I'm always one of those terrible people that wait till the last minute to go gift shopping. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you don't have the handout and you want it, I will go ahead and make sure that you get a copy of it. And I will also send you a copy of the recording in case you want to, follow along and do this at home. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you in a future class. Take care. You're welcome. Thank you for joining and staying. Bye-bye.